I notice everybody's quiet now. I guess the Sergeant at Arms, I was going to come up here and threaten some noise violations and people didn't calm down and quiet down. Don't need to do that now. Just first off, I just wanted to congratulate Leo, as well as Sandy and Anthony, all deserving of this award and all do a great job in the community. I noticed, and I'm going to get to Skip, but don't worry Skip, I'm going to give you your due. But I noticed one of my friends over here didn't give a very long speech, and she's definitely worthy of a lot of recognition. Anita Valenti is truly a giant in the community, figuratively of course. She's somebody who I like to say is we used to call her at Senator Klein's office a soundbite machine, because she would listen to these press conferences. There'd be very large, meaty issues that would be developed. And she would be able to boil it, she understood it all, but she'd be able to boil it down to 2 or 3 words that she knew would get on television. And surely you'd go home that night and you'd turn on the TV, and in every single press conference, she would be in the front row due to height, but she would also be covered because she boiled the issue down to 2 or 3 words, which I thought was good. She was someone, again, very dedicated. You could always count on Anita Valenti to show up at something that was good for the community, that affected a wider area. She'd always show up. She always drove herself too. And if you see Anita behind the wheel of a car, it's kind of like the headless horseman of the apocalypse. She just kind of keeps going. Again, someone who truly does so much work for the community. Her column was a must-read, largely because she covered everything in Pelham Bay, but she also had some very colorful language, which I always appreciated, so thank you, Anita. And truly, for the years she's had, if anyone deserves to be honored, it's Anita Valenti, so let's give her another hand for her. Actually, I wasn't actually called up here to give that speech, but I have another one prepared that I've been working on for a very long period of time here. Skip, I left your rap sheet back at the table, so we're going to have to skip that one. So I'll just start with your biography. Gerard Skip Giacco was born and raised in Pelham Bay, born in Pelham Bay, before moving to New Rochelle in his teenage years. It was there that he met his wife, Louise. Let's give Louise a hand. She does so much for that. And they've been together ever since, recently celebrating their 46th wedding anniversary. Louise and Skip have been partners in marriage, parenthood, and of course, business, for a very long period of time. Together they have a daughter and 2 grandchildren. In 2001, Skip and Louise moved to City Island and acquired the famed ice cream shop Lickety Split. And if you've been to City Island, chances are you've been to Lickety Split. They became staples of the community, always willing to lend an ear and a hand to someone in need. However, it wasn't until the reconstruction of Hawkins Park in 2009 that Skip became involved in civic life. The reconstruction plans called for the park to revert from an active park with recreational opportunities for children to play with the infamous dolphin sculpture to a more passive purpose with only benches for sitting. Skip realized that this would not only hurt his business, but would also signal a troubling change to the community. He took action, collecting hundreds of signatures on petitions, mobilizing the children, parents, and everyone else to save the dolphin. That's right. He went as far as to risk arrest by sitting on the dolphin when the Parks Department personnel tried to remove it, and by refusing to move until he was assured it would remain in the park. So if you like the dolphin in Hawkins Park, you owe a debt of gratitude to Skip Giacco. As Skip sat, people took notice, and soon the Parks Department agreed to let the dolphin remain. It was the first victory the community had celebrated in some time. Rather than simply celebrate his victory and return to running his business, Skip noticed many other problems the community had realized, and that a new voice was needed to address these concerns. Later that year, he ran for the office of president of the Chamber of Commerce. To the surprise of many, he won, defeating an incumbent of more than 20 years. Upon becoming chamber president, Skip quickly realized that the small business community is uniquely tied to the residential community and that each needed the other for the neighborhood to survive. He moved quickly to rehabilitate the relationship between the Chamber and the City Island Civic Association, 2 organizations who had long been at odds with each other for the better part of several decades. He saw, before many others, that good things could happen when a community comes together and speaks with one united voice. Slowly but surely, that's exactly what happened. United, both organizations led the charge for a redesign of the City Island Bridge, finally achieving success in this year, and Skip, I can say with absolute clarity, was a vital part of that, so thank you again, Skip. He managed to take a slow but steady progress on the long-stalled City Island camera project, an effort he inherited. He saw that through a floundering theoretical stage to the signing of a contract and, finally, the installation of these cameras, which continues to this day. At times, the project seemed like a lost cause, but Skip saw the benefit of these cameras would pose for store owners who had been dealing for years with graffiti and vandalism and the community at large. He kept his faith and inspired those around him to carry on with the project. Skip continues to be involved in all aspects of community life, volunteering his time to City Island causes and contributing his musical talents to City Island events and causes with his band, appropriately named Lickety Split. So that's Skip's bio. Now, I'll just share a couple anecdotes and I'll try to keep it short. So Skip, as we said earlier, inherited the camera project, and that's actually when I first met Skip. It was back in 2009. And he said he was going to take it on full charge, and as many people here, everyone who's been somewhat involved in community life, so they know that sometimes when people say they're going to do something, and what they actually do, there's a pretty wide chasm. But I can tell you for a fact, Skip called me every single day, and continues to call me every single day. I actually speak to Skip more often than I speak to some of my family members. When I worked for Senator Klein, which I did for 5 years, one time Skip called the office and a person answered the phone, a member of the staff, and said, "Oh, your Uncle Skip's on the phone." So, now, again, Skip's last name is Giacco and my last name is Doyle. We didn't exactly come over on the Mayflower together, I assure you. However, I took the call, and Skip didn't introduce himself as Uncle Skip, so I just, we proceeded with the call. And later on that day, I cornered her, and I said, "Linda, why did you think that Skip was my uncle?" And she goes, "No one would call you every day unless they were related to you." So I guess I've inherited Skip now as a relative. And again, I mentioned the camera project in my speech, and that's been a long, long project. And I remember back in 2010 when we were getting people to sign on to the agreements, we showed up at this one business rather, and it was one of our first stops. And again, we thought this would kind of set the standard. You're giving something to someone, something positive, something that was contributed with public monies through Senator Klein and others. And this person was not really interested in having a camera. Actually, he believed that his neighbors were spying on him. And there was a very long thing. He thought he was also under investigation. There was probably some one world government talk in there too. I don't know what I guess he's a militant type. And I remember walking out of there at that meeting feeling absolutely, totally dispirited. And Skip, as we're walking out, kind of just looked at me and smiled and said, that guy's a jerk. He used more colorful language than that, of course. And I said, let's move on. And that's really, to me, the sign of great leadership. Leadership isn't about having the loudest voice and yelling as loudly as you can at somebody. God knows we have enough of that in public life. Leadership is about bringing people together from a diversified point of view to achieve one common goal. And when it comes to that ability, Skip has that leadership ability in spades, and I can say that for certain. I will also just mention that the bridge, and if you ask any of our elected officials who were involved, Senator Klein, Councilman Baca, Borough President Diaz, they will tell you that what made them take notice of the issue is that people called and that it was one united voice. We're a small community of only 4,500 people. And the running joke in City Island for a number of years has been, it's a community of 4,500 people with over 9,000 different opinions. So, factor that out as most you will. There was no united voice until Skip came along, and I can tell you for a fact that made all the difference, and we would not have achieved the redesign had it not been for his great help. So I'll leave it at that. I won't go on any further with rap sheets and anything else. Skip Giacco. Yeah.
Thank you all. I'm very grateful and proud and humbled to be in such great company. Anita is, how do you follow her? She's amazing. As John said, the key to, I think, community is the organizations bringing the people together, getting to our elected officials with a united voice and getting things done. Business has to support the residents of the community, and the residents must support business because nobody's going away. And it's worked for us. I'm sure it's worked for you, other communities, and we just got to keep doing it. I want to thank the 45th Precinct for all they do, for all the traffic headaches we give them. They're right there. Again, thank you all.